It is now time for the ColoGreen podcast with A-Dub. Yes, sir. Welcome to the ColoGreen podcast. This is A-Dub. Here broadcasting out of the Rocky Mountain Valley in the state of Colorado. Talking about the weed industry and the things that goes on in the weed industry. So, now the International Church of Cannabis. Now, for those of you who don't know what the International Church of Cannabis is, it's basically a church where people can go smoke weed. Basically, it's basically those who love to smoke weed and at the same time who are spiritual and religious. You don't have to believe in Jesus, or you don't have to believe in God. It's basically whatever higher being you believe in. That's where a group of people who love to smoke weed, they go and they worship a higher being. They elevate. The name of the ministry that basically run the church is Elevation Ministries, and basically the theme is you elevate. The weed takes you to a higher level, and whatever being you basically believe in, you just go there, smoke weed, get high, and worship basically whatever higher being you believe in. When you elevate, it's not a church full of it don't discriminate against religions. They're non-denominational. I mean, of course, they're non-denominational if it's a church where you're allowed to smoke weed. But there's a lot of issues and controversies that surrounding this church, mainly the West Washington Park neighbors, because many are addressing concerns of parking, smelling of weed in the neighborhood, and a lot of noise. Because the big issue is the neighbors don't want a weed church in their neighborhood. I guess a lot of them are scared. They fear that their clean neighborhood will turn into a place full of junkie hippies, basically. They also fear that the church will draw in probably criminals, probably drug dealers, people who like to sell weed in the black market. But one thing I can tell you right now, that the selling of weed is not allowed at that church. And I went to their grand opening. on 420, and there was no selling of weed there. So back to the issue though. The neighbors don't want a weed church in their neighborhood. I guess that's a neighborhood full of conservatives or whatever it is, but a lot of people are addressing all kind of concerns, and it's just out of anger and fear. The anger is that there's a lot of people in that neighborhood who don't want their community to be connected with the marijuana industry. And then the people who are scared, they fear that it's going to bring certain groups of people in that neighborhood, like junkie hippies, possibly homeless people, drug dealers, those type of people. But the thing is, you have to get over that, because this is the state of Colorado, and the state of Colorado is different from other states. So when it comes to marijuana, having a marijuana church, that may be it may be normal in Colorado. Well, of course, it won't be normal in other states. So people just got to get over it and just give the church a chance. Let's see what happens. Let's see if they'll act responsible. Let's see if they will have a clean act. And the church hasn't even been around for long, and people are already drawing all kind of concerns just out of fear. People just need to relax and wait and see what will happen. The residents of West Washington Park are not giving the International Church of Cannabis a chance to prove that they are civil. Many fear that crime will spike in the neighborhood. The leader, Steve Burke, he hit the nail right on the coffin. He said, "We have a First Amendment right to practice our religion within our church and our walls." He said, "If you question that, we reserve the right to take you to court." Now this court and lawsuit stuff, I think Steve Burke, you really need to relax from that. Let's not take this too far now. Your church just starting to get established, and you want to have a clean relationship with the community. You don't want to be in a situation where you're fighting back and forth in civil cases against the community. I really don't think that's not a good idea. At the same time, the citizens need to relax and give this church a chance. Let's see how responsible the church will act. Now, I don't live in the West Washington Park neighborhood, but it looks like a real civil, relaxed type of neighborhood. I've been there a couple of times, and it's pretty decent. It's clean. The people who live in that community, they take care of it really well. Just give this church a chance. Let's just see what happens. Give it 1 year. 1 year, that's not enough. Give it a good 4 years. Let's see what happens in 4 years. And if this church is not being responsible, if they're not acting responsible, then you can, find some kind of boycott to get it out your neighborhood. But like I said, I went to the grand opening on 420 weekend, and the people there are civil. It's not a place full of junkies. It's not a place full of hippies just getting high off of weed. Yes, they do smoke in the church, but it's a lot of civilized people who basically they're smoking weed and relaxing, basically. And of course, they're elevating. That's what it's all about. The citizens need to relax and give this church a chance. And Steve Burke does not need to get emotional, threatening to take people to court. Seriously, it does not need to go that far. You are tuned in to the ColoGreen podcast with A-Dub. Now, social marijuana use in public facilities, Initiative 300. Initiative 300, let me tell you something about Initiative 300. It's a new law in Denver called Initiative 300 that's going to allow social marijuana use in public facilities. But let me give you a little more detail on that. Initiative 300 will create a 4-year pilot program allowing regular businesses such as bars or cafes or even yoga studios to seek permits to bring your own marijuana over 21 consumption areas that are indoors, allowing vaping and edibles but not smoking or outdoors. Okay, but my thing is, okay, you're going to allow vaping and you're going to allow edibles, but not smoke. Why not? Why not? If you're going to allow vaping and you're going to allow edibles, why not allow smoking? I mean, seriously, this is the state of Colorado. And I don't think everybody in the state of Colorado really realize, this is a unique state. How many states do you know allows recreational and medical marijuana? The state of Colorado was the trailblazer. When I say trailblazer, the trailblazer in starting the recreational marijuana movement. So now you got that unique privilege to allow recreational marijuana. Why not go all out? Why not seek more creative things to do? Why not allow smoking? Why just vaping and edibles? I mean, seriously, some places allow indoor tobacco smoking. So why not allow indoor marijuana smoking? Tobacco smoking harms you. Tobacco smoke harms you. Marijuana smoke does not harm you. Yes, secondhand marijuana smoke does not harm you. And studies have proven that. Anyway, back to Initiative 300. Basically, it's a 4-year pilot program to allow public weed smoking in bars, cafes, and even yoga studios. Wow, now that's interesting. I mean, just imagine, those beautiful women in there in the yogas and doing their yoga stands and stuff, and at the same time they're getting high. I think that's really interesting. That's really interesting. But the issue here is the city needs to honor the 4-year program. People shouldn't be forced to sign a waiver, because that's another thing that's part of Initiative 300. People are gonna have to sign a waiver when they go to the social marijuana uses buildings, and the buildings who allow you to smoke weed inside their companies, whether it's a bar or cafe or yoga studio. If you want to go smoke your weed inside their building, you're gonna have to sign a waiver, and that's not good, because people need protection from their employers and their bosses. Because employers and their bosses are going to go to those, they're going to get in touch with the owners of those bars, get in touch with the owners of those cafes and those yoga studios, and they're gonna want to see the list. They're gonna want to see the list to see which one of their employees have been smoking. Because there's a lot of businesses in Denver that still is on the side of the federal government. And their company policy says, since weed is not legal according to the federal law, we support the federal law instead of the state law. So it's still illegal. So there's a lot of companies here in the city of Denver that does not allow their employees to smoke weed. You know? Then another issue, it only allows vapors and edibles. Why only vapors and edibles? If other businesses allow indoor tobacco smoking, what's wrong with allowing marijuana tobacco? I mean, not marijuana tobacco, but indoor marijuana smoking. If you're going to allow vapors and edibles, you might as well just allow the smoke. Just go all out with it. I mean, it makes no sense to me. And then another thing, businesses will need to enforce the 21 and over law with on-duty cops. Similar to how the RTD here in the city of Denver enforces bus payment with numerous cops on the site daily. I mean, it'd be a gang of cops on the RTD rail line every single day enforcing the law. The same needs to be done at these 420 rallies, and the same will need to be done with this social marijuana use. Teenagers and weed is not a good combination. I'm just being honest with you. Teenagers and weed is just not a good combination. Seriously. You are tuned in to the ColoGreen podcast with A-Dub. Jeff Sessions, he says that good people don't smoke marijuana. He does not believe that medical marijuana could be treated for opioid use. To be honest with you, I actually agree with him on that, because I don't know if anything can treat opioid use. Like, once people get addicted to that, it's just a matter of time until they die, basically. Seriously. I don't think there's no cure for people who are completely addicted to opioid. Now, those who are in the early stages of addiction, probably they've been taking it once or twice. I mean, there's probably a cure for that. But those who have been taking it constantly taking it daily, and basically they need it, they can't go without, they can't operate in life without it, those people are done. I mean, there's no treatment for that. Only the intervention of God can help them. Yes, only the intervention of Jesus Christ can help those type of people, but there's no real treatment for those who are addicted to opioids. So I agree with him on that one. But marijuana use does not determine if someone is good or bad. I don't know where Jeff Sessions get this good or bad thing from. When did Jeff Sessions become God in order to determine who's good or bad? How can he say good people don't smoke marijuana? You're not God. You don't determine who's good or bad by what they do. Jeff Sessions did not look smart by assuming bad people smoke marijuana. So Jeff Sessions, what do you have to say about those who use it to treat seizures, joint pains, migraines, and sleep apnea? You know, bone pains? What do you have to say about that? Jeff Sessions need to stay away from weed discussion, because he's just not educated about the benefits of the plant at all. He's just not. So people like Jeff Sessions don't need to be involved in the discussion or the debate. We need people who are educated about the benefits, the pros and the cons of marijuana, the side effects of marijuana. We need educated people who are not biased towards the negative effects of it to be talking about whether it should be legal federally or not. Educated people. Because the thing is, some people do make bad decisions when they're high. But there's no such thing as good or bad people smoking. Normal people smoke it. whether you smoke it or not, that does not mean you're good or bad, period. That was your 15-minute news segment on the weed industry in Colorado and nationwide with yours truly, A-Dub.